Over in the pages of Marvel Comics' current X-Men suite of titles, the mutants are facing off against the anti-mutant group known as Orcus. One mutant who's trying to make up for some of the mistakes that they've recently made is none other than Professor Xavier. My name is Arako Braddock, and today, let's go ahead and examine how Professor Xavier is striking back against Orcus and how Sebastian Shaw as well as Selene are taking advantage of this really disastrous time over for the X-Men's former home of Krakoa. Before we get deeper into the video, I want to encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button over on our video. After the gala, we wondered, did anyone survive the experience? Now we discover the real question, how long can anyone survive this? Immortal X-Men 15 is written over from Kieron Gillen, featuring art from Paco Medina, colors from David Curiel, we have letters from VC's Clayton Cowles, and design from Tom Muller and Jay Bowen. And here's a look over at the fantastic cover from Mark Brooks, teasing a zombie-esque Wolverine who's really going to make Fall of X seem even more disastrous over for the mutants. And I want to extend a very fast thank you over to Adventures in Poor Taste and dive into this really interesting opening sequence of the issue. Really like all the attention that Kieron Gillen has paid over to the character of Selene throughout these X-Men titles. I really thought that Selene's encounter with Orcus and the way that Sebastian Shaw got mixed up in it really added some interesting and dark elements to this X-Men issue right off the bat here. I thought this page that we have up on the screen was another just fantastic moment over for Sebastian Shaw and Selene in terms of the art team. The way that Selene is kind of wiping her mouth after she ate one of the Orcus agents is just a really, really creepy image. And I especially love the way that Sebastian Shaw is able to sort of call her out and add a little bit of tension to their discourse. This scene is also a lot of fun because towards the end of it, they sort of tease that there's something to do with Professor Xavier and these Orcus agents. Really thought Kieron Gillen's script in here does just a fantastic job returning to some plot points throughout the issue. And just like Kieron Gillen's script, we'll return to Xavier at a later date here. This isn't the only scene over with Selene and Sebastian Shaw in Immortal X-Men 15 either. We really get to see them operate more closely within the confines of Orcus in some of these subsequent pages. Elsewhere in the issue, when we got to catch up with some of our deserted mutants, really trying to figure out where they are and how to reach the promised land over with characters like Exodus, Destiny, and Hope. I thought this issue had a really fantastic additional subplot here. Watching some of our mutants band together and eventually run into some of the characters featured on the cover was really, really fascinating. I really like how alongside some of the main mutants like Exodus and Destiny, there's also a larger team of X-Men surrounding these characters. And the way they immediately start to appreciate and adorn Exodus, I thought was just a fantastic element of this title. I also really like where Immortal X-Men 15 left off with Mother Righteous. I don't want to give away any of the really fascinating status quo reveals over with her character, but she goes through quite a dramatic transformation and reveals some really important elements about her backstory in this issue. I am so curious to see where this relationship leads and if Mother Righteous's relationship with some of these deserted X-Men is going to be more negative or positive in the issues to come. I really like how Mother Righteous attempted to strike a deal over with Marvel's X-Men when she first showed up. Really appreciate how Mother Righteous is trying to leverage some of the terms of the agreement over to her side already. I always like watching Righteous kind of scheme throughout some of these issues, and the fact that we now have an additional subplot with her in play, I think should lead to some really fun elements in future X-Men titles. The last page of Immortal X-Men 15 was a ton of fun. It involves another X-Men book in a really subversive way here. Very excited to see Kieron Gillen as well as Marvel's editorial team up together to craft a story that serves multiple X-Men titles, even though it is currently confined within the pages of Immortal X-Men. Also, when we did get some of the opportunities to check back in over with Professor Xavier, I think Kieron Gillen just did a fantastic job driving home some of the tension in these sequences. Getting to catch up with Xavier and seeing some of his new mindset is thrilling. I also like how Paco Medina was able to capture this sequence with some smaller panels, some really beautiful bleeds, and just great action sequences that show just how diverse he is as an artist across this title. I also think that some of the last pages of Immortal X-Men 15 are able to sandwich so many characters together on one panel here, and the just amount of detail that Medina is able to strike with some of his figures is just absolutely staggering across this title. So at the end of the day here, I am really struck by some of the in-depth plot threads over in Immortal X-Men. Really love the fact that this book's flow hasn't really been interrupted by Fall of X. It feels like the lingering threat of Orchis is adding more subtext and texture to some of these titles. I even like how some of those background elements of Orchis are also informing the cliffhanger that affects another X-Men issue as well. I want to know from you, were you as interested in seeing Mother Righteous strike another deal with some of these X-Men as I was? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for coming to check out our video review for Immortal X-Men 15, and we'll be back here in the near future to finish out Fall of X and to see what Professor Xavier's next moves are. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.